We rely on science and logic to tell us what is real. We assume they act as a clean, objective lens, allowing us to see the universe exactly as it is. But Friedrich Nietzsche suggests that lens is a biological fiction, a tool we use to hide from a terrifying reality. This unsettling challenge forms the core of Nietzsche's posthumous notes, compiled in The Will to Power. In the third and fourth books of this collection, Nietzsche takes a sledgehammer to our most sacred intellectual foundations. He argues that the scientific method is not a noble quest to uncover hidden secrets. It is an act of self-defense. The raw universe is in a constant, unpredictable state of flux, and to avoid being destroyed by it, we force that chaos into a predictable box. This is the essence of phenomenalism. We never actually experience raw, objective facts. We only experience our own human interpretations, heavily filtered through our immediate practical needs for survival.
When you use reason to categorize the world, turning a terrifying storm of sensory data into a perfectly uniform grid, you aren't discovering reality. You are simplifying it. You are stamping a false sense of order onto the world so that it can be calculated and managed. What we call truth is actually a highly effective, life-preserving error. It is a specific kind of stabilizing fiction, without which our fragile species would have gone extinct. If the external world is a necessary fiction, Nietzsche turns his lens inward to deliver a harder blow. The concept of the ego, the idea that you have a distinct, rational inner self calling the shots, is also an illusion. Consider our belief in cause and effect. When we experience an unfamiliar sensation, it triggers an instinctive fear. To soothe that panic, the brain immediately searches for a familiar reason, working backward to invent a cause for what it just felt. This means our conscious thoughts are always late to the party. A physical reaction happens in the nervous system, and only afterward does our consciousness generate a tidy explanation. We imagine the cause only after the effect has already been recorded. If objective truth doesn't exist, and our rational thoughts are just post-game commentary invented by the brain, we are left with a massive void. What is the actual engine driving the human machine? For Nietzsche, the singular force animating everything in the universe is the will to power. This puts him in direct conflict with Charles Darwin, whose theories of survival of the fittest dominated 19th century thought. The Darwinian framework assumes the primary drive of life is self-preservation, the need to react to environmental pressure and avoid danger just to stay alive. Nietzsche argues this misreads nature. A living thing seeks, above all, to discharge its strength. Observe the microscopic protoplasm. It doesn't wait to be acted upon. It aggressively reaches out, absorbing material absurdly out of proportion to its basic needs, often risking its own stability just to expand its reach. An organism seeks to expand its dominion and impose its own form onto its environment. Survival is merely a side effect of this primary drive to master its surroundings. Because the aim of life is the expansion of power, things like happiness or self-preservation are not goals. They are simply symptoms of power being successfully exercised. Zooming out to human civilization, we run into a contradiction. If the will to power is the only reality, why did humanity invent moral ideals like altruism, equality, and duty? Nietzsche views these moral virtues as disguised expressions of the will to power. They are the weapons of the gregarious herd, the masses who use the concept of goodness to systemically tether and restrict the movement of exceptional, powerful individuals. The architecture of modern idealism was constructed to manipulate people into performing unpleasant tasks for the collective, all while believing they are serving a higher truth. Because herd morality demonizes the natural drive for individual greatness, it is inherently hostile to life. Nietzsche identifies this suppression as the root of the cultural mediocrity and nihilism infecting modern Europe. Exposing these values as biological tools strips them of their divine authority. The old moral pillars have been revealed as survival tactics, clearing the space for a conscious, deliberate architecture of human excellence. Realizing that we invented our old values merely to survive the past gives us the freedom to consciously invent new ones for the future. This project is the transvaluation of all values. It is the act of overthrowing the traditional order of rank to establish a new system that affirms strength instead of denying it. He envisions a higher man, a new breed of philosopher-lawgiver. To Nietzsche, the very democracy that levels humanity into a uniform, compliant mass actually creates the perfect, supple instrument for a ruler. This standardized herd becomes the base upon which a new species of spirit can stand to elevate the entire human race. To ensure these newly forged values are strong enough to bear the weight of existence, Nietzsche introduces an ultimate psychological stress test, the eternal recurrence. If you were forced to live your exact life, every agony, every joy, every mundane detail, over and over again for the rest of eternity, could you enthusiastically say yes? Those whose values are weak will be crushed by that thought, but those who can embrace the eternal repetition, affirming their own existence with absolute conviction, are destined to be the new lords of the earth. True power is not found in discovering an objective truth. It is having the strength to forge your own reality and love it for eternity.